My name is Walter and I am 85 years old. At this age, one might think they've seen it all. Wars that shook nations, the rise and fall of presidents, inventions that reshaped the world, and the joys and sorrows of family through generations. Yet among all these experiences, there was one truth I consistently avoided: true surrender to Jesus Christ. I was raised in the old ways. From childhood, I heard about the Bible, about church attendance, about saying grace at dinner. But my faith was like a coat I wore for appearance's sake, not a fire burning in my heart. I sang hymns, recited prayers, but only half of my heart belonged to God. The other half I kept for myself, for ambition, for worries, for pride. For many years I thought being good enough was enough. I didn't steal, I didn't kill, I still showed up at church. Yet deep down, I knew I had never truly surrendered. I stood in the congregation as a guest, but never walked into the Father's house as a son. That left my soul empty, even though outwardly I seemed successful. Often I wondered, was it too late? My life had been spent working hard, fighting to provide for my family, and wrestling silent battles within. As old age drew nearer, I became increasingly aware that death was no longer distant. But instead of peace, I carried fear. When that moment came, had I truly known the Lord? Today, as I tell this story, I want to say it plainly: faith is not routine, not a ritual. It is full surrender. And that was the greatest gap in my 85 years of life. That night, the chest pain struck suddenly like a tolling bell. I had endured pain before: wounds from the battlefield, the weariness of working the land, the grief of losing loved ones. But this pain was unlike any other. It pressed against my chest as though trying to squeeze out my very last breath. I knew it clearly: death had come near. As I collapsed onto the cold floor, I heard my granddaughter's desperate cry for help. Yet within moments, even her voice faded, and I found myself swallowed by silence. My frail body remained behind while I stepped into another reality, the reality I had only ever heard described in the scriptures. A tunnel of light opened before me. The light was not just bright like the sun, it was alive, a living force that pulled me in with irresistible power. In that place there was no pain, no weight of age. But more than that, there was a dawning awareness. I was crossing into a realm where faith finally revealed its true meaning. All my life I had lived halfway in faith. In that instant I understood there is no halfway. Standing on the edge between life and death, rituals and outward habits held no value. The only question that remained was, did I truly belong to Christ? I knew I was about to face that answer. And in that radiant light, I realized everything I had once valued on earth was so small. The only thing that mattered was my relationship with the Creator. It was the moment I stepped into eternity, carrying a heart both fearful and desperately longing to embrace the grace I had always lacked. In that living light I saw him. No words can capture the face of Jesus Christ. His eyes burned like fire, yet flowed with love deeper than any ocean. He looked straight into every stain of my life, every year I lived half-hearted in faith, every moment I failed to surrender. And in a single gaze I understood. He saw it all and he still loved me. Walter. His voice rang out, like thunder and yet like music that comforted my soul. That ordinary name suddenly became a heavenly calling, reaching the deepest part of me. He said, "I have something to show you." In an instant I was drawn into a vision. My years unfolded before me like a reel of film. Youthful pride mixed with hope, years as a husband and father with many failures, countless days wasted in empty religion without true devotion. Each scene pierced my heart like a sword and I bowed in shame. But then, he placed his hand upon the book of my life, and his blood flowed across its pages. "Forgiven," he declared. Tears streamed down my face. The burdens I had carried for 85 years dissolved in that moment. I realized forgiveness is not measured by age or achievements, but by his cross. As I recount this moment, I urge you, not just to listen but to respond. Don't treat this as a story to pass by. Let your heart be moved. Type "Amen" in the comments as a prayer, asking God to cover you with his grace and protection. The mercy I received is not for me alone. It is for you right now. E-world sees a man, but I want you to see the war. For every voice that rises for truth, the enemy sends armies of darkness. Charlie fought not merely against men, but against forces that sought to bury the light. In the vision, I saw the moment of his death. It was not as newspapers would one day report, nor as the world would assume. Instead, I witnessed a battle that had stretched him beyond human strength. Charlie had poured out everything he had. And when his strength was gone, the Lord said, "I have brought my son home. Not in defeat, not in silence, but in victory. For in his kingdom, no voice for truth is ever lost." I stood weeping, overwhelmed by the reality that what human eyes see is but the surface, while eternity tells a far deeper story. After the vision of Charlie faded, I was brought face to face with my own life. Scene after scene unfolded like a reel of film. My ambitious youth, my years as a husband too often impatient, as a father who sometimes wounded more than he healed, and the long decades when faith was ritual rather than living relationship with Christ. Each image cut deep into my heart. I saw my pride, my selfishness, my missed opportunities to love and forgive. I bowed low, almost crushed under the weight of it all. Then Jesus placed his hand upon the book of my life. From his hand flowed crimson blood that covered every page. And he said, "Forgiven." Those two words shattered the chains that bound my soul. All my fear of death, all my dread of judgment, all my regret over wasted years, they dissolved in an instant. I understood then, forgiveness is not earned through deeds or years, but given through his blood on the cross. Before sending me back, the Lord entrusted me with a message. Tell them eternity is real. Tell them death is not the end. Tell them truth is not always what the world believes. And tell them I am coming soon. He paused, then added, do not let them waste their lives, whether young like Charlie or old like you. The time is short. Every soul matters. At that moment, I felt myself drawn backward through the tunnel of light, so swiftly I could scarcely comprehend it. My eyes flew open to the sight of nurses rushing and the sound of my granddaughter's joyful sobs. I had returned. But from that moment on, I knew I would never again be the same. As I lay in that hospital bed, my heart still fragile but my spirit burning stronger than ever, I realized the Lord had given me more time, not for comfort in old age but for testimony. For 85 years I had squandered countless chances, but this time I would not waste it. I looked at my children and grandchildren, a generation growing up in a world of noise, division, and distorted truths. I knew if I remained silent, I would betray what I had seen. So I spoke, do not let your life slip away without knowing Jesus Christ. Do not think that church attendance alone is enough. The only thing that matters is a true relationship with Him. I stressed to them, this life is shorter than you think and eternity is longer than you can imagine. Money, success, politics, all of it will pass away. But the soul endures forever. And where we stand before God is the greatest decision of all. As I gave this testimony, I no longer feared ridicule. I no longer cared whether others believed me or not. I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I had seen the Lord. I had seen grace, truth, and forgiveness. And because of His love for me, I could not keep it to myself. If you hear my words, remember this. Death will come sooner than you expect, but God's grace is available now. I, Walter, 85 years old, have walked to the edge of eternity and returned with one message. Take hold of Jesus Christ before it is too late. The story of my life, from youth to 85 years old, has been rewritten by the grace of God. I once lived half-hearted in faith, afraid of death, burdened with regrets. But in the moment I stepped into eternity, I saw Jesus with my own eyes. He showed me the reality of the unseen battle, revealed that death is not the end, and most importantly, He forgave every part of my past through His blood on the cross. I returned with a message both simple and urgent. This life is short, but eternity is endless. Every soul matters to God. Do not wait until it is too late. Seek Him, trust Him, and surrender to Him today. I do not share this testimony to draw attention or spark debate, but to remind you that there is one still waiting for you to come home. I have seen His light, I have tasted His forgiveness, and I want you to be covered by His love and protection as well. If this story has touched your heart, take a step of faith. Type Amen in the comments as a prayer for God's grace over your life. And subscribe to this channel so you won't miss more testimonies that might carry the very message God intends for you in your own journey of faith. May the mercy and peace of Jesus Christ be with you and your family.